What's up everyone, I'm Pamela, welcome back to my channel. Before we get started, I just want to apologize for the terrible lighting in here. I'm not in my typical filming space and I just can't seem to get the lighting right, but the show must go on. I have yet another Stu clue for you guys. This video is actually inspired by Nerdbox, who has a theory that Stu Macher has been lurking in the shadows of every Scream movie. But before we get started, please don't forget to give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of my future posts. And you can also follow me over on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. Let's get into it. Today's Stu clue is going to be about how Stu Macher was in Scream 2. Nerdbox does talk about this on their channel in their video, so I just want to expand on it a little bit. So in the final act of Scream 2, when Sydney arrives to the theater, someone starts up the music. And I think that this could have been Stu, and I'll tell you why. This could not have been Mickey because he arrives after Sydney. We know that Sydney ran there, talks to Derek for a bit, and then Mickey arrives and says, "You're fast, Sid," and sounds out of breath.
You're fast, Sid.
So after Mickey kills Hallie, Sydney runs to the theater. She left before Mickey did. You can see Mickey actually stops in his tracks. So Sydney gets to the theater, the music starts up, she talks to Derek, and then Mickey comes out and reveals himself. And this is when he says, "You're fast, Sid," and he's out of breath. So this indicates that Sydney beat him there by a lot and implies that Sydney got there before him. Therefore, Mickey could not have been the one to turn on the music. So that leaves Mrs. Loomis. But I don't think it could have been her either. So just before Sydney arrives to the theater is the Gail and Debbie Salt scene, when Gail runs to the phone to report Cotton Weary as the killer. So in between this scene and the theater scene is when Mrs. Loomis would reveal herself to Gail and essentially hold her hostage and head to the theater for the big reveal. And as I said already, I don't think Mrs. Loomis is the one who turned on the music, and here's why. Pay attention to the audio in this scene. You can hear footsteps, and it is very clearly only one set of footsteps. Listen again. If this was Mrs. Loomis, she would have Gail with her, so you would hear two sets of footsteps, or at least hear some sort of struggle from Gail trying to get away, or Mrs. Loomis trying to hold on to her. And we can assume that the whole music setup is at the back of the theater because of this POV here. Someone is watching from the back of the theater, which we also know because of the spotlight being turned on from above and in the back. And we know that Mrs. Loomis is the one to control the curtain from behind the stage because the curtain drops just before Mickey arrives, and we know that Mrs. Loomis is back there with Gail. So, quick recap. After Mickey kills Hallie, Sydney leaves first and runs to the theater. She beats Mickey there. Someone from the back of the theater starts the music and turns on the spotlight, and you only hear one set of footsteps. Mickey arrives out of breath and says, "You're fast, Sid," implying that Sydney got there first.
You're fast, Sid.
And Mrs. Loomis is behind the stage with Gail controlling the curtain. So to me, that means that neither one of them could have turned on the music. It could not have been Mickey, it could not have been Mrs. Loomis. So that leaves Stu, who some people like Nerdbox thinks that he's been in the background, like lurking in the shadows of every Scream movie. And now Matthew Lillard does have a cameo in Scream 2. He can be seen at the sorority party in the background with bleached blonde hair. This is because he was dating Nev at the time and was always hanging out on set. But what if this was really meant to be Stu? At the time, the plan was to bring Stu back in Scream 3. So, at this time when Scream 2 came out, he's still alive in the universe. And in Scream 2, there are 2 different scenes where they say Sidney killed Billy, never mentioning Stu.
Well, you're forgetting one thing about Billy Loomis. I fucking killed him.
I'm not Billy Loomis. You killed him. He's dead, remember?
So what if this was Stu in disguise, keeping tabs on Sidney? Sometimes the best place to hide is in plain sight. And not to mention the fact that Mickey and Mrs. Loomis met online.
We met on the internet, psycho website, classifieds.
Just like Amber and Richie, who I believe are a part of Stu Macher's cult, which will be revealed in Scream 7. In Scream 5, Amber and Richie say that they met online on a Reddit page.
I met Richie on the Steps subreddit. I've been obsessed ever since my parents bought this house. We realized pretty quickly we had similar ideas.
Amber also says that she was radicalized and just wanted to be a part of something.
I'm so pissed forth. I was radicalized by movie fans. Just so mad. Please, it's not my fault. I'm just a dumb kid. I just wanted to be a part of something.
So all of this just screams cult to me. Like, the message board is where Stu is recruiting his cult members. Same goes for Jason and Greg. There are a bunch of clues in Scream 6 also. How did Jason know Richie? He says we gotta finish Richie's movie.
We're finishing Richie's film.
The whole world seems to believe that Sam was the killer in Woodsboro during the events of Scream 5, but Jason knows that it was really Richie. And I believe Nerdbox also mentioned this in their video. Originally, in the ending of Scream 2, when Sidney's walking away and the camera pans out to show the college, they were going to have a ghost face up in the bell tower watching her. They obviously decided not to go that way, but what if that was going to be Stu, who was watching her the whole time, to later be revealed in Scream 3, which was the original plan for Scream 3. When I first watched Nerdbox's Scream 2 Stu Clues video, and they first mentioned this whole idea of who turned on the music in the theater, I really liked that theory. And it wasn't until my most recent rewatch that I actually heard the one set of footsteps turning on the music. I think that's a big clue right there, because it definitely can't be Mickey because he hadn't even arrived yet. He arrives after Sidney. And if it was Mrs. Loomis turning on the music, you would have heard 2 sets of footsteps for Gail or some kind of struggle between the 2 of them. So what do you guys think about all of this? Please leave a comment down below. Are you on the Stu train? Do you want Stu Macher to return in Scream 7? Do you like this theory that Stu has kind of been in the background of every Scream movie? I really like the idea that he's been pulling the strings for almost 30 years, and we're gonna have the grand reveal in Scream 7. Please don't forget to give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell. And please also go follow me over on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. And I will see you guys in the next video.